waited for. Everything you want is right here. We gon' give them what they came for. We gon' take it up from last year. Shoot on my shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stayed down, never switched up. Only thing changed was the game. I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now. When I pull up, know it's going down. Foot on the gas, ain't no slowing down. Aiming for greatness, no settling. Kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Taking no else, yeah, I gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Who running the game now? Foot on the gas, can slow down. No, my team, we holding it down. We know we running it now. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change.
Welcome to another edition of the It's Cavalier podcast. It's your boy Mac, and tonight our Cleveland Cavaliers took on the Sacramento Kings, a team that really just needs to initiate the rebuild that we all know is coming, right? Seriously, that is a franchise that is all over the place in terms of direction. They entered tonight as the 14th seeded team in the Western Conference and winners of just 4 of their last 10 games. They were also coming off of 3 straight losses on their home court, mind you, losing to the Trailblazers, the Toronto Raptors, and the Miami Heat in the process. That being the case, it's not like there haven't been any bright spots during that stretch. For instance, Russell Westbrook averaged 22.7 points in the trio of losses, while two-way center Dylan Cardwell averaged 11.7 rebounds with 7 blocks. He's definitely been a bright spot, and you saw him do some things out there tonight that lead credence to the idea of him having a lot of potential. And speaking of Cardwell, he had a very thoughtful, very wholesome quote in the days leading up to this game. I want you guys to take a listen to what he actually had to say about his time in the NBA so far.
From the Bean Boys, every time you get in the game, you get a loud ovation from the crowd. Just kind of talk about how you're settling in, finding your role, finding your place here in the NBA in your rookie season.
Yeah, like I said, it's all glory to God. Outside of the will of God, I would not be here in the NBA. Like I said, you look on the stat sheet, I didn't wow people, in college. I averaged 5 points per game. I rebounded the ball 5 times per game. I averaged like 1.6 blocks per game. No one thought I was an NBA player, and I'm not supposed to be here, but God. And so every time I get on that court, it's just an opportunity to showcase, my God-given abilities and have fun with it and continue to be a joy. Because at the end of the day, like, I'm living my childhood dream. This is something I prayed about since I was, 5 or 6 years old. I remember watching, LeBron James and the Miami Heat and the Russ, the 2012 and the 2012 and 2011 NBA Finals, and just telling my mom, like, I want to be there. I want to be not like LeBron, but I want to be in the NBA, and just to pray about that every single day, and to get that, it's just a dream come true. And I don't think I'll ever take the dream for granted, because at the end of the day, like I said, I'm not supposed to be here. And yeah, I put this jersey on every single day, and I have a blast doing it because this is something I've dreamed about since I was a kid. And so you'll see that childlike joy every time I step on that court, because like I said, this is a dream come true for me. And at any moment it can be taken away. But I just love playing basketball. I love accomplishing and living the dream and having fun. And having Max and Neek and Precious out there.
Now, I don't often play quotes from opposing players, but when you listen to that young man speak, this is a 24-year-old rookie, mind you. You begin to put things into perspective. This is a dream come true for almost all of these guys in the NBA. This is really cool stuff. And in 14 appearances prior to tonight's game, Cardwell was averaging 4.7 points, 7.2 rebounds, and 1.6 blocks per game. So blocks are nice, obviously, as a big man, but the rebounds have also been great. More specifically, the offensive rebounds, as he came into today pulling down 3.1 offensive rebounds per game, which would be 16th in the NBA for players who've played at least 15 games. He's making the most of his opportunities this year, and he genuinely seems happy to be in the league. And I wish you would see more of that, because oftentimes I feel like what you see from specific players in this league is that they were just immensely gifted and they had no other choice but to play in the NBA because of their gifts, their God-given gifts. Anyways, while Cardwell has been showing promise, the Kings appear to be readying themselves for the future. They are rumored to be shopping that of Domantas Sabonis, Malik Monk, and Keon Ellis is also drawing interest. Ditto for the likes of DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. More than a few, if not all of these guys, could be moved by February 5th NBA trade deadline. That said, as of right now, they are still here, and we still had a game to discuss. But before we get there, do your boy a favor and smash that like button, subscribe to keep the Cavs coverage coming, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on post-game coverage. So here's the thing, right? Entering this game, individually speaking, the Kings still have some very useful, very talented, very skilled players in their own rights. They are all really talented, right? They just don't often mesh well at times. Though tonight might not let you know that. It may not have felt like that at points tonight. Zach LaVine this season in 33 appearances entered tonight averaging 19.8 points, 2.8 rebounds, and 2.4 assists while completing 48.6% of his field goals, including 39.9% of his triples. So he's shooting the ball well individually. DeMar DeRozan, a player that we know is such a skilled mid-range guy, entered tonight averaging 18.8, 3.3, and 4 assists while completing 50.6% of his field goals, including 35.8% from three-point range, which is actually a career high for him. We get to Domantas Sabonis, who has only appeared in 14 games this season up to this point. He's actually returning from an injury, and he's been coming off the bench now the last 4 games. And in those 14 entering tonight, he had been averaging a double-double at 15.4 points per game, 11.4 board, 3.6 assists, and completing 51.9% of his field goals. And alas, 15.6 points per game for Russell Westbrook to go along with 6.1 rebounds and 6.9 assists. And the key thing here for Russell Westbrook, and this probably was on full display for you tonight as Westbrook was knocking down triples. He actually entered today knocking down 35.3% of his triples, which represents the second highest percentage of his career. And it's on solid volume. And he did knock down more than a few tonight as Westbrook would finish with 11 points. But it was a brick fest for him, honestly. 3 of 12 from the field, 3 of 10 from deep. But I say all of this to say is that these guys are talented and they can do some things. They just don't often mesh well. That said, it doesn't necessarily mean that you don't take them that you don't take them seriously, because they can be dangerous on any given night. They are pros after all, and that demands that you take them seriously. Sacramento entered today's game with the NBA's third worst defensive rating at 119.1. They surrender a lot of points. I'm sure you guys know that, but you may be surprised to know that the bulk of those points come in the painted area. They are allowing opponents to score 55.6 points in the paint per contest. And when that is the case, you absolutely have to take advantage. With that in mind, it was imperative that Cleveland got both Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen involved early and often. And if I'm being honest, folks, right, one of the biggest things I was hoping to see in this game from the tip-off was just how much that would happen. Would Donovan Mitchell, Craig Porter Jr., Jalen Tyson, and any other ball handlers continue to feed the bigs, knowing that they had a potential advantage in that area? It was looming large in my mind after watching Evan Mobley dominate the first half of the Cavs' most recent game against the Charlotte Hornets, only to be essentially ignored in the second half, taking just 2 field goal attempts in the third and fourth quarters combined. But when Evan Mobley is actually given the opportunities, what he did was put the ball on the floor and attack, and he was mighty effective when doing so in that game. So much so that Kenny Atkinson was quoted with the following in that regard.
I mean, defensively, obviously, he was great, but his downhill straight line, physicality to the lane, that's the Evan. I think sometimes he gets pushed kind of sideline to sideline. Today, he was straight line to the basket, and that's what we need from him. We need more of those power drives, power moves to the rim. Thought he was really, really good.
That was Kenny Atkinson in reference to Evan Mobley after the Charlotte game. So conversely, I was very interested in seeing how the Cavaliers would defend a three-point line tonight, especially against a team that entered today ranked just 20th overall in three-point percentage at 35.1% and is averaging the fewest three-point makes as a unit at 10.6 per game. That said, they have some individuals that do know how to knock down that three-point shot. How would Cleveland choose to defend that? Would they choose to gamble and seed looks, or would they send a men out to defend the line, closing out and rotating properly as needed in the process? Would they elect to operate in the zone, or would they a no middle type defense in an effort to focus on one of the Kings' strengths? Well, actually, two of them, that being their presence around the rim and from the mid-range area. I think it's important to note that as of recording this, Sacramento as a collective is 7th in the NBA in accuracy and shots attempted at the rim at 69.2%. And they are also 9th in mid-range accuracy as a team at 44.9%. And we know why that is. They have guys like Domantas Sabonis. They have guys like DeMar DeRozan. They have guys who can knock down that mid-range pull-up, Malik Monk, and others included in that. That's where they live more often than not. So how would they actually fare? How would the Cavaliers begin this game? Well, quite honestly, I felt that they mixed it up a bit early on offensively. And right out of the gate, it resulted in a quick 9-0 run to open the game, quickly prompting a Kings timeout. But the one constant during that was Evan Mobley attacking them with consistent downhill drives. I watched him put the ball on the floor and quite literally work his way to the rim with little more than a Jarrett Allen screen at times to set him up, which is progress. That is progression. He would score 8 of Cleveland's first 16 points, going a perfect 4 of 4 in the process, all 4 of those coming within the painted area, often after a drive. He was just exceptional to begin the game. He would finish the first alone with 13 points on 6 of 9 shooting from the field. In addition to that, Donovan Mitchell, and this is a name you'll probably hear later on, he had it going on, using several drives to set things up for cutters out there, getting to his own shots, getting to his own spots out there around the rim, and fighting through a ton of contact in the process. This dude got beat up tonight with a lot of no calls, what I feel, right? Still, the Kings would finally bring a punch back to the table about midway through the first quarter with Sabonis and Schroeder pushing the action, especially Sabonis. The man is still very much a load to deal with in that painted area, and we understand that he is coming off an injury, but he is still very, very capable of providing an all-star level presence, right? This guy is somebody that will go right through you, not around you. He was drawing doubles and triples at points, leading to wide open three-point shots from the corners and above the break. And he was out there grabbing rebounds and even drilled a tray in that first quarter from above the arc to erase the Cavaliers' lead. Schroeder put in work too. Dennis Schroeder was pretty good tonight, using his speed and handle out there to generate good looks for himself around the rim and for others. Pretty substantial swing up to that point, considering Cleveland had led by as many as 14 points in the first. So you do have to give the Kings credit for pushing their way back. They played tough as hell, and as a result, the game was tied entering the second quarter. And Sabonis kept it up in the second quarter, getting to the interior at will, it felt like. He was going right through Mobley in the process. It really didn't matter who you put out there. Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen, Sabonis was going through him. He was throwing doubles. You just really couldn't contain him. He's just one of the strongest dudes on the court, probably the strongest on the court tonight. But, I just, at that point, I chalked it up to this being a true treat, a battle of bigs out there, courtesy of two very talented bigs, and that of Evan Mobley and Domantas Sabonis. And it was nice to see early on in that second quarter, Tyrese Proctor and Larry Nance Jr. minutes, the former of which drilled a triple after entering off of a nice Donovan Mitchell feed. Now, he's obviously at this point in his career such a raw prospect, and that shows in his game, and he's a work in progress. But he's a shot maker, and at this point in time, with no Sam Merrill, with no Max Strus, with no Darius Garland, with Lonzo being up and down, that is needed right now. Right. And Larry, he actually contributed some good minutes tonight as well, especially during that stretch. And that's 2 straight games that we have seen Larry contribute meaningful minutes. At that point, though, it felt like Donovan Mitchell, much like he's done all season, was the true catalyst at that point. He drew a lot of contact in the second quarter, including a 3-point foul on Russell Westbrook. He was key in the Cavaliers going on an 8-1 run to retake the lead, and as he had, I think, around 15 points in the first half. While Zach LaVine would drill a triple from the left-hand corner to retake that lead, Cleveland would march right down the court and retake it after another Mitchell three. It was just so back and forth up to that point. So much back and forth going on. Now, part of that, in my opinion, at least at that point of the game, was due to the lack of shot making on the Cavs end. Right? There were a lot of clean looks being offered and afforded to them from the Kings. They were just straight up missing, especially from the perimeter. That said, Tyson and Dean triples, Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan mid-range makes, Jarrett Allen and Craig Porter Jr. pick and roll work, more Mobley drives, Donovan Mitchell doing what he always does, knocking down shots, especially beating the shot clock on one of them triples. Dennis Schroeder and Westbrook drilling trays. So much occurred in the second half of that second quarter. So many lead changes up to that point. 13 to be exact, and 15 by the end of the half. It became a true shootout down the stretch of that first half with so many players drilling three-point shots. Hell, the Kings would finish the first half alone shooting extremely well from distance, 9 of 15 from the arc. That is 60% to be exact. There were some pretty even things going on in that first half, though, when you look into the miscellaneous categories over on NBA.com. Points in the paint, as I mentioned, the Kings often struggle there from a defensive aspect. They allowed Cleveland to score 24 points in the paint through the first two quarters. Sacramento equaled them in that category, mostly due to Domantas Sabonis just being an absolute juggernaut out there. So it was 24 all in that area, 9-9 on the second chance points. And to me, that's kind of crazy because it felt like the Cavaliers pulled down a ton of offensive rebounds, even at that point in the game. They would finish with 16. But I think that at that point, Sacramento was not necessarily being made to pay for allowing them to generate those opportunities. Fast break points. Sacramento did win in that category. They had 8-2 through the first two quarters of the game. Evan Mobley would have finished with 19 first half points to go along with 5 boards and 2 assists and had a block on a game leading 14 field goal attempts up to that point. In fact, to take that one step further, for those of you who may not be aware, Evan Mobley's 14 first half field goal attempts were actually tied for the most of his career in any half of any game. He's done that 3 other times in his career, and the last was back in February of 2023. So it's been damn near 3 years since we have seen Evan Mobley take that many field goal attempts in any half of a game. Now, entering the third, things needed to change, especially in the interior where Sabonis was just flat out dominating, and he continued that in the second half, functioning as a hub of sorts from the elbow. We have seen them operate that way time and time again in his time there. Thankfully, Donovan Mitchell and company were up to the task, right? Despite some very good shot making from Sactown. Jarrett Allen and Jalen Tyson were extremely active on both the glass and the defensive end in the opening stages of that third quarter. Donovan Mitchell drove into the heart and interior of that defense over there, making some very tough and contested layups at times. Tyson, in particular, was very physical and quite honestly passionate out there, which you need more of that. I think I heard on the broadcast numerous times where he was jawing at Dennis Schroeder or somebody at the free throw line. And you saw that play out in Jalen Tyson receiving a technical foul in the third after he was seen visibly complaining about a no call out there. Evan Mobley, though, for his to his credit, kept up his high level of play as well. When this guy is aggressive, and that is the key word, because we know how talented Evan Mobley is. We know how dominant he can be. When he is aggressive out there, he's a very hard player to stop, similar to Domantas Sabonis. He drove so much. I cannot wait to dig into the total drive stats for this game when they are posted, because I'm sure that Evan Mobley was probably among the leaders, probably the leader tonight, probably even beating out Donovan Mitchell. He put the ball on the floor so much tonight. And attacked, right? Off the dribble handoffs, wherever, what have you, bringing the ball up the floor. He did it all, right? And when he didn't make his attempts, he put himself oftentimes in great position to, at the very least, do so, which is all you can ask at times. And by the way, if you are wondering what his season high in field goal attempts was entering tonight, it was 19. He surpassed that in the third quarter alone. His career high is 27. And while he would not beat that or surpass it, it was still nice to see him attempt as much as he did tonight. Feed the bigs. And Donovan Mitchell, up to that point in the game, was there to continue putting pressure on Sacramento and Evan Mobley as Evan Mobley went to the bench. And ditto for the likes of DeAndre Hunter, who scored 7 points in about the final 3 minutes of the third, which was pretty big, pretty huge swing for them, as the Cavaliers managed to outscore Sacramento 34-22 in the third, retaking the league. All they had to do up to that point was close it out. That is it. And that is honestly been a tough thing for them to do during this era of basketball for the Cavs. They have struggled to close games out. And I hate to say this, but they would struggle to close it out again once more in this outing, as the lead would shift constantly in the fourth quarter after they were outscored 25-21 in the fourth quarter of this game. And quite honestly, up to around, I don't know, the final 2-3 minutes of this one, it was much closer. It felt like the margin for error was thin, truly. If you go back and you look at the play-by-play for this game, it was damn close. I mean, with about 2 minutes and 12 seconds left to go in this game, the score was 116-118. After a pair of DeMar DeRozan free throws. It was that close. They cut that lead, and they were really pushing to win this game on another big comeback. And it would have been a disappointing loss like we have had this year, but thankfully they were able to shut things down after they had a couple of timely defensive stops and sequences out there all offensively that allowed them to seal this game. But they do not win this game without, one, Donovan Mitchell going off. He was phenomenal. I'll pull his stats in a minute. But Evan Mobley in particular. Evan Mobley was the star of this game. I have nothing bad to say about Evan Mobley tonight. He was phenomenal. In fact, Evan Mobley, this is his stat sheet from tonight. 29 points, 13 rebounds, 8 assists. So this motherfucker finished 2 assists shy of a triple-double. And he got 4 rejections, 4 more blocks. This guy has been absolutely dominating defensively. We already know that he has put up at least 8 games on this season with 4 or more blocks. Tonight actually represents his 13th game of the season with at least 3 or more, which is insane. Absolutely insane defensive output you're getting from Evan. And he may not win the Defensive Player of the Year award, but he is continuing to show out. Even in games where he doesn't have it offensively, he is there on defense, just being that stone wall in the interior and being a very switchable big out there on the perimeter. But tonight, the star of the show for him was the offense. The playmaking was nice. I'll admit that. It was nice to see him put guys in position, especially on big-to-big passing. But it was his aggressiveness, his sheer willingness to put the ball on the floor, attack the interior of this Sacramento defense. And I already pointed it out numerous times. They suck in terms of points in the paint being allowed. So you had to take advantage of that. And that's what Evan Mobley, likely looking at the scouting report, they knew that going in. And that's exactly what they did. They executed their game plan flawlessly, at least in that area. And Evan Mobley in particular was probably the biggest proponent behind that. He was phenomenal. He continued to attack. He was continuously aggressive. He didn't matter who was defending him out there, whether that be Domantas Sabonis or Maxime Renault or not. This guy was cooking. And he knew it because time after time, he waved off screens. He wanted the ISOs, right? You don't often see that from Evan Mobley. He wanted the smoke tonight. And I think that is a huge step in the right direction for Evan Mobley. This was a beautiful performance for him, his best game of the season. I mean, say what you will about the opponent, but I don't give a fuck. I don't give a damn. It was nice to see Evan Mobley take shit seriously and step up when you don't have Darius Garland out there and when you don't have some of these other connectors to help set him up. He took it upon himself to attack. He didn't need players to set him up tonight. He wanted to attack. And Evan Mobley in attack mode, acting aggressively, putting the ball on the floor while contributing some high-level defense is a top 10 player in the NBA, in my opinion. And maybe you disagree with that, but honestly, it's hard to when you see him put on performances like that where he is just absolutely dominant and he's efficient from the field. 13 to 24, 54.2%. That's pretty damn good, especially when you consider that a bulk of his misses came from the three-point line. If there's one disappointing part of his game this season, it's been the three-point shot. It's regressed a bit, but I don't really care as much as long as he is doing things like this, putting the ball on the floor, attacking, using his size advantage, using the length that he has, right? Dude's phenomenal. He missed all 4 of his three-point attempts tonight. So if you take that away, he's truly 13 of 20, which is pretty damn efficient. That would be 60% from the floor. That's awesome. Not anything bad to say about Evan Mobley. Spider Mitchell, just as phenomenal tonight against the Kings. 33 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists, 1 steal for the likes of Donovan Mitchell tonight to go along with 11 of 25 from the field. That's 44%, including 5 of 12 from a 3-point distance. That is 41.7%. He was 6 of 7 from the charity stripe, so you know that he got to the rim. I thought he should have got a lot more free throw attempts, if I'm being honest. I think that Sacramento was beating up on him, and the refs did not have his back at home, which is absolutely ridiculous, but it is what it is. Tonight was Donovan Mitchell's 23rd game of the season with at least 30 points. This man is a flat-out scorer of the highest accord, but you already knew that. What was nice from Don tonight was the assist. What was nice from Don tonight was understanding that he didn't need to play Batman. I know we call him Spider, but he often tries to function like Batman, a lone wolf at times. Today, he was Robin. I know he scored more points than Evan Mobley. I understand that he is the best player on the roster, but today he was essentially the Robin to Evan Mobley's Batman. And guess what? When you're looking at the turnover battle, guess who only turned the ball over one damn time? Donovan Mitchell. I know we don't love Point Mitchell. I understand that he has his games where he looks high level as a point guard, and he has other games like he did against OKC where he's just absolutely terrible operating as the lead guard. But tonight, that was not the case. He put guys in the correct positions. He took a step back and allowed Evan Mobley to dominate, and he was a Robin out there. Sometimes I think that's needed. Entering this season, one of the things that we were calling for to happen was Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland willingly taking a step back and propping up Evan Mobley. Now, that is hit and miss at times. Evan Mobley has not been the best. He's sometimes too tentative, not willing to be aggressive. But in performances where Evan seemingly has it going on and the defense is not yet doubling him, because that is starting to happen, you got to continue to feed the big man, and he will reward you. And unlike Charlotte, where he got those touches in the first half and then was essentially ignored in the second, he got those touches all game, and look what it got you. You got to play through your bigs at points. Yeah, I think that it is probably too oversimplified. That is a very, very simplistic statement. It does not dive into the gray area because there is some gray area in there. But when you do that, when you involve your bigs, good things tend to happen. You know who else was really involved tonight in that aspect? Jarrett Allen. Jarrett Allen had 15 points and 9 rebounds tonight, and he only took 6 field goal attempts. He had the most free throw attempts of any player on the Cavaliers roster tonight, 10. And he was 9 of 10. He was very efficient. That is the type of shit that you like to see if you are a fan, because it means that Donovan Mitchell is not dominating the touches. It means that Donovan Mitchell is willingly allowing his big men to operate. And I think that is, above anything else, what you need if you are the Cavs. They are very, very hard to beat when they involve both of their bigs. And it was just such a great way to go about this one, because you knew going in that Sacramento struggled to contain the interior, and Cleveland exploited that time and time again, and you absolutely love to see it. Now, as you're looking at the standings right now across the NBA, the Cavaliers over on NBA.com sits at 26-20 as the 5th seeded team in the Eastern Conference. They are about a game and a half away from the 3rd seed in the East. When you look at it, New York right now, they are 26-18. Toronto's 27-19. Cleveland is 26-20. The margins are so small. They're so small. So they can easily, going into the All-Star break, be a top 3 seeded team. Hell, let's say, fuck it, they're a top 2 seed in the East going into the All-Star break. If they can somehow go on a run, string some together, and Boston starts to lose some games. Maybe that's, to be honest with you, I don't think that's too far-fetched. At the very least, they can be the 3rd seed entering the All-Star break if things play out a specific way. And it's not all that crazy because New York hasn't been playing their best basketball. Toronto's all over the place. Boston, they're pretty damn good. Detroit, we already know Detroit has got that #1 seed on lock for now. Maybe not throughout the entirety of the year. But as of right now, I don't think it's pretty difficult to envision the Cavaliers getting back into the top 3. After so many people wrote them off, I understand that we got to take things a game at a time, but I'm starting to feel really, really encouraged because the Cavaliers have won a lot more often than they did to begin this season. Now, over the Cavaliers' last 15 games or so, it's starting to trend upward. I'm currently looking that up as we speak. Their record in their last 15 games, if I am not mistaken, puts them right at 9-6. Over their last 15 games, they're 9-6. That is not bad. They have some quality wins during that stretch of basketball. They have some really stinky losses too, but I'm feeling good. And the East is not great. I know the West gets a lot of love, but honestly, when you look at the current landscape of things, it's all pretty even right now. It truly is. Over in the Western Conference, you got OKC above everybody else. San Antonio is pretty damn good in their own right. They're at 31-14 as of right now. But, I mean, you look at teams like Denver and Houston and LA and Phoenix, the degrees of separation here between the Cavs record and the Knicks record and the Lakers record and the Rockets record, it's not really that far. It really isn't. So it's when you look at the conference versus conference thing, I think it's really, really overplayed. But I say all this to say that they could very, very easily catch fire at the right time, peak at the right time, and then, get a top 2, top 3 seeded, top 2, top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. And I feel really, really good about that. Other bright spots from tonight's game, I may or may not have already mentioned this, but Jalen Tyson was phenomenal tonight. 17 points, 7 more rebounds, 4 of the offensive right. This dude is out there active as hell on the offensive glass. 4 assists, was 6 of 14 from the field, including 3 of 5 from three-point distance. Many of those three-point makes, or more than a few, should I say, of those three-point makes being key and pivotal makes. He played the most minutes of any Cavalier tonight at 35 minutes and 49 seconds of action. You need that youthful energy. So I'm glad he was able to contribute that much. I thought this was a pretty solid showing from Dean Wade, especially from a defensive standpoint. Dean is never going to be a guy that truly lights up the stat sheet. He may have a game every now and then where he kind of pops off, or he's knocking down a whole bunch of threes. But tonight, he would finish with a meager 6 points, 5 rebounds, 2 of the offensive variety, a steal, an assist, 2 of 4 from the field, including both of those being three-point makes. And he was a plus 21 in his 28 minutes of action. He's never going to get all the love that he deserves. He'll get a lot of criticism at points, usually doesn't get enough praise. But tonight was a pretty solid performance, all things considered, from Dean Wade. He actually led the Cavaliers in plus-minus tonight at plus 21. That being the case, I do feel like it is time to hop into the chat. So, what do we got? HJ17 Gaming says, this is the Evan Mobley I thought we were going to get at the beginning of the season. Hopefully, this is the spark for him to ball the rest of the season. I agree. I think that when you look and Evan Mobley's involvement in the offense, that is where the things need to be truly tracked. As Evan Mobley goes, a lot of the time, so too do the Cavaliers. That's true not only when he's not out there and he misses time, but when he's just not involved offensively. Again, tonight marks the highest amount of field goal attempts in any game that he has had this year with 24. But I think that things usually bode well when you involve your bigs. Chaz Erica says, internet down, had to listen to the game. Hopefully you enjoyed at least listening to it on the broadcast or the radio. But a win, right? That's all we could ask for. Fully Fields second says, Evan Mobley tried his best to assert himself. I appreciate it. Do it again tomorrow. Amen. Hellstone says, good game. Decap here says that fourth quarter block on Sabonis when Sabonis was trying to sun him was beautiful. Yeah, that was a nice rejection that he had. Listen, for what it's worth, there were so many sequences tonight where Domantas Sabonis did body the likes of Evan Mobley. He did the same thing to Jarrett Allen. He is a strong dude, a strong presence in the interior. It's hard to stop that guy. And he bounced right off of Evan Mobley. I don't know, or should you say that other way around? Either way, you get what I'm trying to say. Evan Mobley and Domantas Sabonis were trading body blows all game in that regard, from a from a proverbial standpoint. But at the end of the day, it was nice to see him outdo Sabonis in that area. Nicotine 2977 says best game from Mobley all season, almost a triple double with 4 blocks, no fouls, no turnovers. That no turnovers is huge. That hits hard, truly. Great one says they low-key been playing down to opponents. Yeah, you can say that. No team in the NBA is immune to that, but I'm glad that they were able to overcome some of their shortcomings when it mattered. Let's see here. Floyd Phillips second says, glory goes to God. Yes. Amen. Amen to that one. I'm assuming that's in reference to the video that we kind of kicked things off with earlier. Nicotine says West Brick. Yeah, he was West Brick tonight, but I do have to admit he's been playing some really solid basketball this year, and he's actually shooting the ball respectably well from 3-point distance. So we'll see. The new norm says need this play from Ev to carry over the second half of the season. Agreed. A's says Lonzo and or Hunter trade coming. Possibly. We'll see. The deadline is the 5th, and I've already mocked up a few trades. Some people like them. Some people don't. Some people think I'm shitting on Lonzo a little too hard, but the reality is this. I always wanted it to work out, Lonzo. There's still a possibility that Lonzo's on this roster post February 5th, but there's every bit the possibility that he's not. Same goes for DeAndre Hunter, right? He's being paid $23 million. Simply put, he's not playing up to that price tag, and maybe they just opt to try and translate that to another area of need rather than hold on to that salary, because he's eventually going to need an extension. So we'll see. We shall see what ends up happening, but it's too early for me to suggest that, to be honest with you. Ian says the East has been super volatile. Hope is not lost. I agree. Chaz Erica says 34 minutes is nice. I am assuming that is in reference to Donovan Mitchell. I don't know. Evan played 34 tonight too. Evan played 34. Jarrett played 33 minutes and 38 seconds. Jalen played 35, 49. That was the game high among any player tonight. And then Donovan played 34 and 11. So pretty good minutes distribution. I don't think anybody had to play too extensively, but luckily the guys who did were on the younger side and had a lot of energy. Isaac Khan, YT says, Brad Daugherty kept shitting on him for ducking his head into the defender and making himself small. Is that valid? Yes. I think at points. I think Brad was overstating it a bit, but far be it for me to disagree or disagree with him too much. He played at the highest level, and if not for injuries, Brad Daugherty could have been much, much more impactful in his tenure in the NBA. But I do agree with the sentiment. I do think there are times where he does kind of make himself a little too small on his drives to the rim and mostly around the rim in that painted area. When he has somebody that he's trying to back down, he does make himself a little too small at times, and he's a little too slow getting the shot up. Floyd says, Wimby stat line, Joker-esque. Ohio Game Talk says, I feel sick for Lonzo. Injuries have ruined that guy's potential. Agreed. I'm still a huge fan of Lonzo Ball. The problem with Lonzo is that he has been sapped of any and all athleticism that he once had due to the multitude of injuries that he has sustained. He's obviously not a spring chicken anymore. And for a guy who was never truly, his game was never truly built on driving to the basket and forcing a ton of contact, he just does not do that now. And he's not shooting well at all. So all the other things that he brings to the table truly get overshadowed, because Lonzo is a very, very, very high level playmaker. Still, basketball IQ is still really high. And obviously he's a solid rebounder, positionally wise, and a very good point of attack defender still. Maybe not necessarily what he once was on that end, but he does all these things that still translate really well to the basketball court. But the things that he is not doing well, or not doing at all for that matter, overshadow all of that. And so it sucks. I was hoping that it would work out when they traded Okoro. I was really stoked about that trade, but so far it has not. A's says, after this game, what would we say the Cavs need outside of guys coming back? If you're looking specifically at like areas of need or flaws in their game, they got to figure out a way to stop that 3-point barrage that teams often employ against them. They have to figure out the 3-point defense. They have flaws. They're not necessarily playing to their strengths at times. A lot of that is on Kenny Atkinson. So I do think that there are problems at the coaching level. Not necessarily any that Kenny needs to be fired over or anything, but something that really trips me up at times is Kenny's rotations in his lineups, his constant lineup shuffling and changing. There were points tonight's game even where I'm like, dude, you're waiting a little too long to pull this lineup. And at the end of the day, I think that he's working his way through specific things, but this has not been the best Kenny Atkinson season. So I think they need a little bit more consistency out there. That's what I'm asking for, especially in the starting lineup. Now, I get the injuries play their role in that. Obviously, Darius Garland's not available. Sam Merrill has missed a lot of games. Max Strus hasn't played that yet this year. Other guys have been in and out of the lineup. But when you do have specific players available, I would love for them to keep things a little more consistent in terms of that starting lineup and in-game adjustments in terms of those lineups. There are times when I think Kenny is a little too heavily reliant on specific players at specific positions. That's about as specific as I'm willing to get right now. It's really tough to say without, like, it's hard to say what they actually need outside of getting guys back without seeing the full product, because we haven't seen that all year. It's so tough to say. Like, they obviously have some of the same flaws they've always had. They're an undersized backcourt, right? They struggle with consistency at the small forward position. Sans Jalen Tyson, if you're going to start him there consistently all year, so much. Damaris McCoy says, Kenny working. They don't care about the regular season. He got to keep mixing till he strike gold. Only shooting for top 6 seed. Home court has been no benefit to our teams in the past couple of years. Yeah, I think that there is a degree of that, and we all knew that going into the season. But I also think that consistency during the regular season is still important. And at some point, you do need to kind of lock in on what you're going to do from a rotational standpoint. And I also think you still got to win enough damn games to get there. And the Cavaliers, they were, for a while there, they were flirting with not even being in the top 6 seeds. And we still got a long season left. But there's still a lot of things that need to happen right now. I think it's probably around a good stopping point today. I appreciate each and every one of you for joining the show and contributing in the chat. I always love interacting with you guys. And if you're still here by some chance, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the It's Cavalier podcast. If you're not yet a subscriber, subscribe to Positive Hooper, my other channel as well. I'm trying to get that to 100 by the end of the month. Dropping new content on that every couple of days, just NBA in general, not necessarily a team-specific show or channel in that regard. If you want to reach out to me, you know how you can. It's Cavalier_pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and more. If you want to be added to the It's Cavalier Discord chat, you know what to do. Leave a rating, leave a review, send a screenshot of said review to itscavalier53@gmail.com, and I will send you said invite. But even if you don't, you know your boy will still be here come rain or shine, win or loss, because I love this team, and I know you guys do too. Good night. Go Cavs.